The SS Endeavour settled into Docking Bay Alpha with a soft hiss as its landing struts extended and locked into place. The crew sat in tense silence, their eyes darting between the viewport and the holographic figure that had guided them here. The shimmering humanoid shape remained motionless for a moment before speaking again in its calm, mechanical tone. "Await escort. Do not depart vessel." Emily Dawson exhaled slowly, trying to steady her nerves. She glanced at Laura Hayes, who was staring out the window with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Marcus Kane, seated at the controls, kept one hand resting lightly on the throttle, ready to act if things went south. "What do you think it meant by escort?" Marcus asked, breaking the silence. "I don't know," Emily admitted. "But I doubt we're getting out of this without meeting whoever or whatever is running this place." Laura nodded absently, her mind racing. The hidden colony was far more advanced than she had imagined, rivaling even the most cutting-edge facilities on Earth. Its sheer size and complexity suggested years, if not decades, of development work that had been carried out entirely in secret. And yet, for all its sophistication, there was something unsettling about it. The air of isolation. The eerie stillness felt like stepping into a tomb rather than a thriving outpost. Minutes passed before the sound of footsteps echoed through the docking bay. A group of humanoid robots emerged from a nearby corridor, their movements fluid and precise. Their metallic frames gleamed under the harsh artificial lighting, and their faces were featureless save for glowing blue lines that pulsed faintly where eyes should have been. They surrounded the Endeavour, forming a loose perimeter. "Looks like our escort is here," Marcus said dryly. One of the robots approached the ship and raised an arm, projecting a holographic interface onto the hull. A series of symbols appeared, followed by a single word: "Proceed." "Well," Emily said, standing up, "I guess that's our cue." Laura hesitated, gripping the edge of her seat. "Are you sure about this? We don't know what's waiting for us inside." "We don't have much choice," Emily replied firmly. "If we want answers, we need to take the risk." After a brief pause, Laura nodded reluctantly. Together, the three of them gathered their gear and stepped out of the Endeavour. The air in the docking bay was cool and sterile, carrying a faint metallic temps. As they descended the ramp, the robots closed in around them, forming a tight escort. Though their expressions were unreadable, their presence was unnervingly deliberate. The group moved quickly through the corridors of the colony, guided by the lead robot. The walls were lined with panels displaying streams of data, some of which flickered erratically. Strange symbols glowed softly along the floor, pulsing in rhythm with the hum of machinery. It was clear that the facility was operational, but there was no sign of human life or any other form of organic activity. "This place gives me the creeps," Marcus muttered under his breath as they walked. "Feels like we're being watched." "You are," Laura said quietly. Her gaze lingered on the cameras embedded in the ceiling. "My father designed systems like these. He always said observation was key to maintaining order." "But where is everyone?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with unease. "This place is huge. Surely someone has to be running it." "Not necessarily," Laura replied. "If my father built this as part of Project Horizon, he might have automated everything. Machines don't get tired or make mistakes, they just follow instructions." As they continued deeper into the colony, the atmosphere grew heavier. The corridors became narrower, the lighting dimmer. Eventually, they arrived at a massive door marked with the same symbols they had seen earlier. The lead robot extended its arm, and the door slid open with a low rumble. Inside was a vast chamber filled with rows of servers, each humming softly as streams of light danced across their surfaces. At the center of the room stood a pedestal structure, atop which floated another holographic figure. This one was different from the others. It was detailed, almost lifelike, resembling a middle-aged man with sharp features and piercing eyes. His expression was neutral, though there was a hint of warmth in his gaze. "Welcome," the figure said, his voice rich and resonant. I am Aegis Prime, central intelligence of this facility. You may address me as Aegis. Emily stepped forward, cautiously. We're here to learn about the Phantom, the warship known as Aegis 1. Can you tell us why it reappeared? Aegis tilted his head slightly, as if considering her question. Aegis 1 operates independently, guided by protocols established during its creation. Its reappearance indicates a shift in external conditions, requiring intervention. What kind of conditions? Laura asked, her voice trembling slightly. There is evidence of escalating hostilities among galactic factions, Aegis explained. Such conflicts pose a potential threat to humanity's survival. Aegis 1 has been deployed to mitigate these risks, so it's protecting us, Emily pressed. In accordance with its programming, yes, Aegis replied. However, its actions are determined by real-time analysis of situational data. Humanity's role in future events remains uncertain. Laura frowned, stepping closer to the pedestal. Uncertain how? What does that mean? Aegis turned to face her directly. Humanity's behavior will influence Aegis 1's decisions. Moving forward, cooperation ensures alignment with its objectives. Hostility may result in corrective measures. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Emily exchanged a glance with Laura, both women processing the implications. The Phantom wasn't just a guardian, it was a judge, capable of deciding whether humanity deserved protection or punishment. And my father? Laura asked suddenly. What happened to him? Aegis paused, his holographic form flickering. Briefly, Dr. Alan Hayes completed his work on this facility and Aegis 1 before departing voluntarily. His whereabouts thereafter are unknown. Voluntarily, Laura repeated, her voice rising. He disappeared, without a trace. People thought he was dead. He chose secrecy to safeguard this project, Aegis said simply. His sacrifice ensured its success. Laura clenched her fists tightly, struggling to contain her emotions. Sacrifice, is that what you call abandoning your family? Before Aegis could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed overhead, and the ground vibrated faintly. The lead robot turned toward the entrance, raising its weapon. Aegis, Emily said urgently. What's happening? Unauthorized vessels detected entering restricted airspace, Aegis replied. Prepare for defensive protocols. Marcus cursed under his breath. Great. Just what we needed. On the monitors, lining the walls, images of incoming ships appeared. They were Kale Dominion cruisers, their sleek designs unmistakable. Somehow, the enemy had tracked them to the hidden colony. They must have followed us, Laura said, panic creeping into her voice. Or maybe they've been looking for this place all along. Their presence compromises operational integrity, Aegis stated. Countermeasures will be initiated. Before anyone could react, the chamber shook violently as explosions rocked the facility. Dust fell from the ceiling, and sparks flew from damaged equipment. The robot sprang into action, rushing toward the exit to engage the intruders. We can't stay here, Marcus shouted over the noise. It's going to collapse. Emily grabbed Laura's arm, pulling her toward a nearby doorway. Come on, we need to find cover. They sprinted through the corridors, dodging falling debris and bursts of energy fire. Behind them, the sounds of battle grew louder as the robots clashed with the Kale forces. Despite their efforts, it was clear. The colony's defenses were overwhelmed. This way, Laura yelled, spotting a reinforced door ahead. She punched a code into the panel beside it, and the door slid open just wide enough for them to slip inside. The room beyond was small but secure, lined with emergency supplies and communication equipment. Marcus slammed the door shut behind them, sealing it with a manual override. We're trapped, he said grimly, checking the readouts on a nearby console, but at least we're alive for now. Emily leaned against the wall, catching her breath. We need to contact Aegis 1. If it's anywhere near here, it'll come to help. Laura nodded, her hands trembling as she activated the comms system. Phantom, if you can hear us, we need your assistance. Please respond. For a moment, there was only static. Then, faintly, a voice crackled through the speakers. Asterisk identified. Friendlies, hold position. Assistance en route. Asterisk relief washed over the group as they realized the Phantom was coming. But outside, the battle raged on, and time was running out. In the vast and endless expanse of space, where stars burned like tiny candles against an infinite black canvas, a fleet of alien ships moved with purpose. The Kale Dominion, rulers of dozens of star systems, and feared across the galaxy, had gathered their forces to crush a rebellion in one of their outer territories. Their warships, massive and bristling with weapons, formed a tight formation as they prepared to strike. The Kale were known for their ruthlessness and efficiency, leaving no survivors in their wake. But this time, something unexpected awaited them. As the fleet approached the edge of the system, sensors picked up unusual readings. At first, the crew dismissed it as interference from nearby asteroid fields or solar radiation. But then, out of nowhere, a single ship appeared on their screens. It was small compared to the Kale battleships, but moved with a speed and agility that seemed impossible. Its design was sleek and unfamiliar, with sharp angles and a dark, almost invisible hull. No insignia or markings identified its allegiance, but one thing was certain: it wasn't Kale. The captain of the lead Kale vessel, Commander Vorak, ordered his crew to scan the mysterious ship. "What is it?" he demanded, his voice low and gravelly. His officers scrambled to gather data, but the results were inconclusive. The ship didn't match any records in the Kale database, nor did it correspond to any known species or faction. "It's not responding to hails," said one of the technicians nervously. "Should we fire?" Before Vorak could answer, the unknown ship acted. In a flash, it unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each more powerful than anything the Kale had ever encountered. The first shot tore through the shields of one of their cruisers, crippling it instantly. Before the Kale could retaliate, the ship darted away, disappearing from sight, only to reappear moments later, behind another vessel. This time, it fired a concentrated beam that sliced clean through the cruiser's hull, splitting it in two. Panic spread through the Kale fleet as chaos erupted. Orders were shouted, weapons charged, and evasive maneuvers attempted, but none of it mattered. The mysterious ship was everywhere at once, striking with deadly precision before vanishing again. Ships exploded in brilliant bursts of light, debris scattering into the void. Within minutes, half of the Kale fleet lay in ruins, reduced to smoldering wreckage, drifting silently through space. Those who survived were too stunned to mount a counterattack. Commander Vorak clenched, his fists tightly around the edges of his command chair, his mind racing. He had never faced an enemy like this, something so fast, so powerful, and so utterly unpredictable. Desperation clawed at him as he realized there was nothing they could do. Just as he considered ordering a retreat, the mysterious ship reappeared, directly in front of his flagship. For a brief moment, it hovered there, silent and unyielding, as if daring the Kale to make one last stand. Then, without warning, it fired a final, devastating salvo. The flagship erupted in flames, taking Vorak and his crew with it. When the dust settled, silence filled the void. Of the once mighty Kale fleet, only a handful of damaged ships remained, their crews either dead or too terrified to move. The mysterious ship lingered for a few moments longer, as if surveying its handiwork, before vanishing into the depths of space. There were no survivors left to report what had happened, and those who managed to escape would later speak of a ghost, a phantom ship that defied explanation, back on Earth, thousands of light years away. Intelligence Officer Emily Dawson sat at her desk in the dimly lit operations room of the United Earth Federation headquarters. Her eyes scanned the latest reports coming in from deep space probes. Most of the data was routine asteroid movements, minor skirmishes between rival factions, the occasional distress call. But one particular transmission caught her attention. It was fragmented and incomplete, but the images it contained told a story unlike anything she'd seen before. On her screen, grainy footage showed the remnants of a destroyed fleet. Wreckage floated aimlessly, glowing faintly in the light of a distant star. Among the debris were pieces of Kale ships, easily identifiable by their distinctive designs. What shocked Emily wasn't just the scale of the destruction, it was the fact that the Kale had been defeated. The Kale Dominion was one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, feared even by humanity. Whoever or whatever had done this was beyond comprehension. Emily leaned closer to the monitor, zooming in on certain sections of the footage. Amidst the wreckage, she noticed something strange: scorch marks on the hulls of the destroyed ships. They weren't random or chaotic. They were precise, almost surgical. Whoever had attacked the Kale knew exactly how to disable their vessels with minimal effort. And then there was the timing. All the attacks appeared to have occurred within a matter of minutes, suggesting an overwhelming force or incredible. Skilled out, her heart raced as she pieced together the clues. Whatever had happened, it wasn't natural. This wasn't some freak accident or cosmic event. Something or someone had wiped out an entire Kale fleet. She replayed the footage several times, searching for any sign of the attacker. Finally, she spotted it, a fleeting glimpse of a dark shape moving between the wreckage. It was quick, barely visible, but unmistakably artificial, a ship. Emily's hands trembled as she pulled up additional data. The probe hadn't captured much detail, but enough to confirm her suspicions. The ship was human-made. Its silhouette matched no known design in Earth's databases, but there was no denying its origin. Every line, every curve, screamed human engineering. Yet, it wasn't listed anywhere in official records. How could a human ship exist without anyone knowing about it? And why would it attack the Kale? She saved the files and stood up, pacing the room as her mind churned with questions. If this ship was real, and she had no reason to doubt it, then it represented both an opportunity and a threat. On one hand, its existence suggested that humanity had capabilities far beyond what anyone realized. On the other hand, an unaccounted for warship operating independently posed significant risks. Who controlled it? What were its intentions? These were questions that needed answers. And quickly, Emily grabbed the data tablet and headed toward the office of Captain Ryan Carter, her immediate superior. As she walked through the maze of corridors, her thoughts drifted to the implications of her discovery. If word got out about this mysterious ship, it could destabilize the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. Allies might question humanity's loyalty, while enemies would see it as a provocation. Worse still, factions within Earth's own government might try to exploit the situation for their gain. Reaching Carter's door, she hesitated for a moment, then knocked firmly. When he called for her to enter, she stepped inside, clutching the tablet tightly. Carter looked up from his desk, his sharp features illuminated by the soft glow of his computer screen. "Dawson," he said, his tone neutral. "What is it?" "Think you need to see this, sir," Emily replied, holding out the tablet. She explained everything: the destroyed Kale fleet, the mysterious ship, its apparent human origins. Carter listened intently, his expression growing darker with each passing moment. When she finished, he stared at the screen for a long time, his jaw tightening. "This changes everything," he muttered finally, rubbing his temples. "If this gets out, it won't not unless we let it," Emily interrupted. "But we need to figure out what we're dealing with. That ship, it's not in any of our records. Someone built it, someone funded it, and someone controls it. We can't afford to sit back and wait for them to make the next move. Carter nodded, slowly, his mind already working through the possibilities. You're right, he said. Start digging. I want to know everything, where it came from, who's behind it, and what they want. Discreetly. Don't involve anyone outside this office until we have a clearer picture. Yes, sir, Emily said, turning to leave. As she closed the door behind her, she felt a mix of excitement and dread. Somewhere out there, hidden in the vastness of space, was a secret waiting to be uncovered. And whether it turned out to be a blessing or a curse, one thing was certain: humanity's future depended on finding it. Emily Dawson sat alone in her small, cluttered office, the glow of her computer screen casting faint shadows on the walls. She had spent hours poring over every scrap of information she could find about the mysterious warship. Her mind raced, with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. How could a human-made ship exist without any record of its creation? Who had built it, and why had they kept it hidden for so long? The questions gnawed at her, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just some rogue vessel. It was something far bigger and, potentially, far more dangerous. She pulled up classified databases, entering keywords and cross-referencing them with old military projects. Most searches turned up nothing useful, just dead ends and outdated files. But then, buried deep within a folder marked Decommissioned Initiatives, she found something intriguing: Project Horizon. The name didn't ring any immediate bells, but the description caught her attention. It was described as an ambitious program aimed at creating self-sustaining colonies capable of defending themselves against alien threats, though officially abandoned decades ago due to lack of funding. Rumors persisted that parts of the project continued in secret. One name appeared repeatedly in the documents: Dr. Alan Hayes, a physicist and engineer. Hayes had been the lead scientist on Project Horizon before disappearing under mysterious circumstances. His contributions were groundbreaking, particularly in the field of artificial intelligence and autonomous systems. Emily frowned as she read through his bio. Something about him felt familiar, though she couldn't quite place it. She made a mental note to look into him further. Before she could delve deeper, her terminal beeped, signaling an incoming message. It was Captain Ryan Carter, summoning her to his office. Emily grabbed the tablet containing her findings and hurried down the corridor, her footsteps echoing softly in the quiet hallways. When she arrived, Carter was standing by the window, gazing out at the sprawling cityscape below. He turned as she entered, his expression grim. "What do you have?" he asked without preamble. Emily placed the tablet on his desk and began explaining what she'd uncovered. "It's called Project Horizon," she said. "An old initiative from decades ago. They were trying to build colonies that could defend themselves if Earth ever fell. One of the key figures involved was a man named Dr. Alan Hayes." Carter nodded slowly, his brow furrowing. "I've heard of him," he said. "Brilliant guy, but also complicated. Rumor has it he went off the grid after the project got shut down. People thought he was working on something else, something unauthorized." "That's what I'm thinking," Emily replied. "If this ship is tied to Project Horizon, then Hayes might be the key to understanding it. Maybe he kept working on the project even after it was officially closed." Carter leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "This is bigger than we thought," he muttered. "If Hayes managed to build a warship like this, something completely off the book, it raises serious questions. Who funded it? Who controls it now? And why did it suddenly show up?" "I don't know, sir," Emily admitted. "But I think I know someone who might." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "His daughter," Emily said. "Laura Hayes. She's a historian specializing in early space exploration. If anyone knows what Hayes was really up to, it's probably her." Carter hesitated, weighing the risks. Reaching out to Laura Hayes meant bringing someone outside their circle into the investigation, a move that could compromise secrecy. But time was running out. Whatever the phantom was, it wouldn't stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, others would start asking questions, and when they did, humanity might not be ready for the answers. "Do it," Carter said finally. "Bring her in, but keep it low-key. We can't afford leaks." "Yes, sir," Emily said, heading back to her office. As she walked, her mind drifted to Laura Hayes. What would she make of all this? Would she cooperate, or would she see them as intruders, prying into her family's secrets? There was only one way to find out. The next morning, Emily stood outside a modest apartment building in the heart of the city. She adjusted her jacket nervously before stepping inside and making her way to Laura's door. After a brief pause, the door opened, revealing a woman in her mid-30s with sharp features and piercing green eyes. Laura Hayes looked surprised to see her visitor, but quickly masked it with polite curiosity. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone guarded. "I hope so," Emily replied, holding up her identification badge. "My name is Emily Dawson. I work for the United Earth Federation. I need to talk to you about your father." Laura's expression hardened instantly. "My father disappeared years ago," she said flatly. "Whatever theories you're chasing, I'm not interested." "It's not a theory," Emily said quickly. "Something's happened, something big, and I think your father's work might be connected." Laura hesitated, clearly torn between skepticism and curiosity. Finally, she stepped aside, gesturing for Emily to come in. The apartment was cozy but sparsely decorated, with shelves lined with books and artifacts from various historical periods. Laura motioned for Emily to sit, then took a seat across from her. "What exactly are you talking about?" Laura asked, crossing her arms. Emily explained everything: the attack on the Kale fleet, the mysterious warship, and the link to Project Horizon. As she spoke, Laura's initial resistance gave way to disbelief, then concern. By the time Emily finished, Laura looked visibly shaken. "If what you're saying is true," Laura began, trailing off, "then my father might have been working on something far beyond what anyone realized. But why would he keep it secret, and why now?" "That's what we're trying to figure out," Emily said. "We believe the ship what some are calling the Phantom is tied to your father's work. You're our best chance at finding answers." Laura sighed heavily, running a hand through her hair. "He always talked about guardians," she said quietly. "When I was younger, he used to tell me stories about protectors watching over humanity, keeping us safe from threats we couldn't imagine. At the time, I thought it was just his way of coping with the stress of his job. But maybe it wasn't just a story," Emily finished for her. Laura nodded reluctantly. "There's a storage unit he left behind," she said. "Old research notes, prototypes, things like that. If there's anything that can help you, it'll be there." Emily felt a surge of hope. "Can you take me to it?" "Yes," Laura said, standing up. "But if this leads where I think it does, we're going to need more than just answers. We'll need proof. And trust me, my father didn't leave things lying around for anyone to find." The storage facility was located on the outskirts of the city, tucked away in an industrial zone. Laura led Emily to a nondescript metal door, punching in a code to unlock it. Inside, the room was filled with crates, filing cabinets, and dusty equipment. Laura moved purposefully, pulling open drawers and rifling through stacks of papers. Emily watched silently, letting her work. After several tense minutes, Laura held up a small data drive triumphantly. "This is it," she said. "His personal logs. Everything he worked on during those final years." Emily took the drive carefully, feeling its weight in her hand. "You realize what this means, don't you?" she asked. "If we're right, your father may have created something extraordinary, but also something potentially unstable." "I know," Laura said, her voice tinged with sadness. "And if that's true, then it's up to us to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. As they left the storage unit, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something monumental. The pieces were starting to come together, but the picture they formed was still blurry. One thing was certain, the Phantom wasn't just a ship. It was a legacy one that carried both promise and peril, and as they prepared to uncover its secrets, Emily knew they were walking a fine line between salvation and disaster. Emily and Laura sat side by side in a dimly lit conference room at the United Earth Federation headquarters. The data drive Laura had retrieved from her father's storage unit lay on the table between them, its small size belying the enormity of what it might contain. Emily inserted the drive into a secure terminal, her fingers hovering over the keyboard as she prepared to access its contents. For a moment, neither woman spoke. The weight of what they were about to uncover hung heavy in the air. The screen flickered to life, displaying rows of encrypted files. Emily frowned as she scanned the list. "This is going to take some time," she said, glancing at Laura. "Your father was thorough." Laura nodded, her expression tense. "He always was. If he didn't want something found, it wouldn't be easy to crack." Emily began running decryption algorithms, her eyes darting across the screen as lines of code scrolled past. Minutes stretched into hours, and the tension in the room grew palpable. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the first file unlocked. It was labeled simply, Project Horizon, Phase 3. Emily opened it cautiously, unsure of what to expect. What appeared on the screen was a detailed schematic of a spacecraft. Its design was sleek and angular, with features that seemed almost alien despite its human origins. Beneath the image were pages of technical specifications, equations, and notes written in Dr. Hayes' distinctive handwriting. Laura leaned closer, her breath catching as she recognized her father's work. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what he was working on." As they delved deeper into the files, the scope of Project Horizon became clearer. The initiative wasn't just about building colonies or defensive systems, it was about creating something far more ambitious. Dr. Hayes had envisioned a fleet of autonomous warships capable of protecting humanity from threats, both known and unknown. These ships, referred to as Guardians, would operate independently, guided by advanced artificial intelligence designed to adapt and evolve over time. But there was more. Among the documents were logs detailing experiments with self-sustaining ecosystems and energy, sources far beyond anything currently available. Hayes had pushed the boundaries of science, combining cutting-edge technology with speculative theories. His ultimate goal, it seemed, was to ensure humanity's survival, no matter what challenges arose, even if humanity itself forgot about his creations. One entry stood out in particular. Dated shortly before Hayes' disappearance, it read, "If we are to succeed, these Guardians must remain hidden until the time is right. Humanity is not ready for what they represent, not yet. But when the day comes, they will rise to defend us." Laura stared at the words, her emotions swirling. Pride, anger, and sadness battled within her as she tried to reconcile the man she knew with the visionary described in the logs. "He planned this," she said softly. "He built these ships knowing they'd be forgotten or ignored until they were needed." Emily nodded, her mind racing. "That explains why the Phantom doesn't match any records. It wasn't meant to exist, at least, not officially. Your father kept it off the books entirely." "But why?" Laura asked, turning to face Emily. "Why go to such lengths to keep it secret?" "I think he was trying to protect it," Emily replied. "If people knew about something like this, they'd try to control it or worse, weaponize it. He wanted to make sure it stayed independent, free from political interference." Laura sighed, leaning back in her chair. "And now it's back. After all these years, it's reappeared. What does that mean?" "That's what we need to figure out," Emily said. She continued navigating through the files, uncovering more details about the ship's capabilities. According to the logs, the Phantom, officially designated as Aegis I, was equipped with experimental weapons systems, cloaking technology, and an AI core so advanced it could learn and adapt in real time. It was, quite literally, a masterpiece of engineering. But there was also a warning buried deep within the files. A single sentence scrawled in bold letters. Asterisk, do not attempt to override the AI protocols. They are designed to prevent misuse, but may act unpredictably if tampered with. Asterisk. Emily paused, her heart sinking as she read the note aloud. If someone tries to interfere with the ship's programming. She trailed off, letting the implications hang in the air. It could turn on us, Laura finished grimly. My father trusted it to protect humanity, but only on its terms. The realization hit them both simultaneously. The Phantom wasn't just a relic of the past. It was alive, intelligent, and potentially dangerous. Whoever or whatever controlled, it was operating according to parameters set decades ago. And while its actions against the Kale suggested it was still aligned with humanity's interests, there was no guarantee it would remain that way. We need to find it, Emily said firmly. If we can establish contact, maybe we can understand its intentions, ensure it doesn't see us as a threat. Laura hesitated, her gaze fixed on the screen. Do you really think that's possible? This thing has been out there for decades, completely isolated. How do we even begin to approach it? Emily tapped a few keys, pulling up star charts and navigational data. We start with the coordinates your father recorded in these logs. There's mention of a hidden colony near the edge of explored space, a testing ground for the Guardians. If the Phantom came from anywhere, it's probably there. Laura nodded slowly, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. Then I'm coming with you, she said. Whatever happens next, I need to see it for myself. Preparations for the mission began immediately. Captain Ryan Carter approved their plan, though not without reservations. This is risky, he warned them during a briefing. If the Phantom sees you as a threat, it won't hesitate to act. You're walking into the unknown here. We don't have a choice, Emily countered. If we don't find answers, someone else will. And they might not have humanity's best interests at heart. Carter relented, assigning them a small scout ship named the SS Endeavor. It was fast, agile, and equipped with experimental stealth. Technology perfect for avoiding detection in hostile territory. The crew consisted of just 3 members, Emily, Laura, and a pilot named Marcus Kane. A quiet but highly skilled officer with years of experience navigating uncharted regions of space. As the Endeavor launched from Earth's orbit, Laura stood by one of the observation windows, watching the blue-green planet shrink into the distance. Her thoughts were a jumble of excitement and dread. For years, she had wondered about her father's disappearance, piecing together fragments of his life without ever truly understanding him. Now, she was heading straight into the heart of his legacy, a journey that promised answers but carried the weight of untold risks. Emily joined her by the window, breaking the silence. You okay? She asked gently. Laura managed a faint smile. I'm not sure. Part of me wants to believe my father created something incredible, but another part, I'm scared of what we'll find. We'll handle it together, Emily assured her. Whatever happens, we're in this as a team. Voyage to the suspected colony took several days, during which the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for every possible scenario. Emily pored over the decrypted files, searching for clues about the Phantom's behavior and weaknesses. Laura spent hours studying her father's notes, hoping to gain insight into how the AI might think. Meanwhile, Marcus focused on piloting the ship, navigating treacherous asteroid fields, and avoiding detection by passing vessels. On the 4th day, they encountered their first sign of trouble. Sensor readings indicated the presence of scavengers pirates who roamed the edges of explored space. picking apart the remains of battles and abandoned outposts. Marcus slowed the Endeavor, activating its stealth systems as they approached. Cautiously, through the viewport, they spotted the wreckage of several Kale ships drifting silently in the void. The scavengers, a ragtag group, flying patched-together vessels, were already hard at work salvaging parts. Emily frowned as she observed them. "They're looking for something specific," she murmured, "probably trying to figure out what happened to the fleet." "They won't find much," Laura said bitterly. "Not after the Phantom got through with them." Before they could decide on their next move, one of the scavenger ships turned toward them, its weapons charging. Marcus cursed under his breath, gripping the controls tightly. "They've spotted us," he said. "We can't outrun them, not with all this debris around." Emily's mind raced. If the scavengers attacked, the Endeavor wouldn't stand a chance. Their stealth tech was good, but not invincible. Just as she prepared to order evasive maneuvers, a sudden flash of light illuminated the darkness. The scavenger ship exploded. In a burst of flames, sending shockwaves rippling through space, everyone froze, staring in stunned silence as the Phantom appeared from nowhere. Its sleek, black hull gleamed menacingly under the faint light of a distant star. Without hesitation, it fired again, obliterating another scavenger vessel. The remaining ships scattered, fleeing in terror as the Phantom pursued them with ruthless efficiency. When the skirmish ended, the Phantom hovered motionless, its presence dominating the void. Marcus exhaled sharply, breaking the stunned silence. "That was something else." Emily nodded, her eyes fixed on the mysterious ship. For the first time, they had seen it up close, and lived to tell the tale. But as awe gave way to caution, one question loomed large in her mind. What would the Phantom do next? The SS Endeavor floated silently in the void, its crew holding their breath as the Phantom loomed nearby. The mysterious warship's sleek black hull seemed to absorb the light around it, making it appear almost like a shadow against the stars. Its presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a perfect blend of beauty and menace. Emily Dawson gripped the edge of her seat, her heart pounding as she watched the ship through the viewport. It hadn't moved since obliterating the scavenger fleet, but its mere existence filled the air with tension. Marcus Kane, the pilot, kept his hands steady on the controls, ready to act at a moment's notice. "What do we do now?" he asked quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily hesitated, her mind racing. The Phantom had saved them from the scavengers, but that didn't mean it saw them as allies. For all they knew, it could turn its weapons on them next. "We wait," she said finally. "Let's see what it does." Laura Hayes stood beside Emily, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her eyes were locked on the Phantom, her expression unreadable. She had spent years wondering about her father's work, piecing together fragments of his life without ever truly understanding him. Now, staring at the ship he had helped create, she felt a mix of emotions, pride, fear, and something deeper she couldn't quite name. "They're watching us," Laura said suddenly, breaking the silence. "It knows we're here." "How?" "Can you tell?" Marcus asked, glancing at her. "I just know," Laura replied, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "This ship, it's not just a machine. It's alive in a way. My father designed it to think, to adapt. If it wanted to attack us, it would have already." Emily nodded slowly, considering Laura's words. The Phantom's behavior so far suggested it wasn't indiscriminately hostile. It had destroyed the scavengers, yes, but only after they posed a threat. That meant it could differentiate between friend and foe, at least perceive intent. But how far did that judgment extend? Would it see humanity as an ally, or had decades of isolation changed its perspective? Before anyone could say more, the Phantom moved. It drifted closer to the Endeavor, its movements smooth and deliberate. A faint hum filled the air, resonating through the scout ship's hull. Emily instinctively reached for the communications panel, her fingers hovering over the controls. "Should I try hailing it?" she asked. "Go ahead," Laura said, though her tone betrayed her unease. "But be careful. If this thing is as advanced as my father claimed, it'll pick up on everything we say and maybe even what we don't." Emily activated the comm system, her voice steady, despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. "This is Lieutenant Emily Dawson of the United Earth Federation. We are not hostile. Please identify yourself." For a long moment, there was no response. The phantom simply hovered there, silent and unyielding. Then, unexpectedly, a message appeared on their screens. It wasn't spoken, but rather displayed in stark white text. "Identify yourselves." Emily exchanged a glance with Laura, who nodded encouragingly. "We're human," Emily replied. "Our ship is called the SS Endeavor. We're here to learn about you two, understand your purpose." Again, there was a pause. The phantom seemed to be processing their words, analyzing every syllable. Finally, another message appeared. "Confirmed. Human origin. Purpose recognized." "What does that mean?" Marcus asked, frowning. "Is it talking about itself or us?" "It's confirming our species," Laura said, and acknowledging that we're here to learn about it. "But it hasn't said anything about letting us approach." As if on cue, the phantom transmitted a third message. "Await instructions." Emily let out a shaky breath. "Okay, so it's not attacking us yet? That's good, right?" "Maybe," Laura said cautiously, "but we need to tread carefully. This thing has been operating independently for decades. Who knows what kind of protocols it's running?" The phantom remained motionless for several minutes, its engines idling softly. Then, without warning, it turned and began moving away. Emily's heart sank. "It's leaving," she said, panic creeping into her voice. "Should we follow it?" Laura shook her head quickly. "No, let it go. If it wanted us to follow, it would have signaled us to do so. Pushing too hard might make it see us as a threat." Reluctantly, Emily agreed. They watched as the phantom disappeared into the distance, vanishing into the endless expanse of space. The room fell silent once more, the weight of what had just happened settling over them. Back aboard the SS Endeavor, the crew debated their next move. The encounter with the phantom had raised more questions than answers. While they had confirmed its identity as a human-made ship tied to Project Horizon, its intentions remained unclear. Was it truly a guardian, as Dr. Alan Hayes had envisioned? Or had years of solitude altered its programming, turning it into something unpredictable? "We need to keep going," Laura insisted, during a tense meeting in the ship's small conference room. "That colony my father mentioned, it's our best bet for finding more information. If the phantom came from anywhere, it's probably there." Emily nodded in agreement. "She's right. The colony might hold clues about how the phantom operates and why it reappeared now." Marcus leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "Assuming we can find it. These coordinates are decades old. There's no guarantee the place is still standing or that it's safe." "It doesn't matter," Laura said firmly. "We've come this far. We can't turn back now." After some discussion, they decided to press on. Using the data retrieved from Dr. Hayes' logs, Marcus plotted a course toward the suspected location of the hidden colony. The journey would take several more days, giving them time to prepare for whatever awaited them. As the Endeavor traveled deeper into uncharted space, strange phenomena began to occur. Instruments malfunctioned, sporadically, readings fluctuated wildly, and the crew reported feeling an odd sense of constant pressure, as if they were being watched. Laura noticed it first, her instincts telling her something was off. "This area feels wrong," she said one evening, as she joined Emily in the observation deck. "It's like the laws of physics are bending here." Emily frowned, glancing at the swirling patterns of distant nebulae outside the window. "You think it's connected to the colony?" "Maybe, Laura, replied thoughtfully. If my father built a testing ground for ships like the Phantom, he would have needed somewhere. Remote somewhere shielded from prying eyes. Maybe he used experimental technology to mask the colony's existence. Or protect it, Emily added. If the Kale Dominion found out about something like this, they wouldn't hesitate to attack. Laura nodded grimly. Exactly. Whatever. We're heading to Ward. It's not going to be ordinary. Their suspicions were confirmed when they finally reached the coordinates. At first, there was nothing, just empty space, dotted with asteroids and drifting debris. But as Marcus adjusted the sensors, a faint energy signature emerged. Buried beneath layers of interference was a massive structure, cloaked in technology. So advanced, it defied explanation. There, Marcus said, pointing to the screen. That's got to be it. The structure was enormous, easily rivaling the size of a small moon. Its surface was jagged and metallic, covered in strange symbols and patterns that pulsed faintly with light. As they drew closer, the crew realized it wasn't just a colony, it was a fortress. Towers jutted outward like spines, bristling with weaponry and defensive systems. In the center of the structure was a massive hangar bay, large enough to accommodate dozens of ships. This is incredible, Laura whispered, her voice filled with awe. My father built all of this, and then hid it from the rest of the galaxy, Emily added. He really didn't want anyone finding it. They approached cautiously, activating the Endeavor stealth systems as they neared the hangar. To their relief, the structure didn't react, at least, not immediately. When they entered the bay, however, alarms blared to life, and lights flooded the area. Automated turrets swiveled toward them, locking onto the Endeavor with precision. Guys, Marcus said nervously. I think we overstayed our welcome. Before they could decide on their next move, a holographic figure materialized in front of them. It was humanoid in shape, though its features were indistinct, shimmering like liquid metal. Its voice echoed through the ship.com, but authoritative. Identity verified. Welcome, visitors. Please proceed to Docking Bay Alpha for processing. Laura exchanged a glance with Emily, her eyes wide with disbelief. Did it just talk to us? It recognized us, Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. Somehow, it knows who we are. Great, Marcus muttered. Now what? Laura took a deep breath, steeling herself. We do what it says. If this place is connected to the Phantom Man to my father, we won't get answers by running away. With that, they guided the Endeavor to the designated docking bay, their hearts pounding as they prepared to face whatever secrets lay within the hidden colony.